Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's workshop, Sorting Your Socials for the Year. I'm just admitting a few more people. This is the first in the One Business Zoom workshop series for 2021. We know that it's very early in the year, but one of the funny things that happened a few years ago, Emma's program, Creating Tracks, was running, and we wanted to do a workshop on looking at design and logos and that kind of stuff. And we did it on something like the 4th of January or something. And we had like 40 people in the room. And we only got a little room at the State Library because we thought, oh, that's heaps of space because it's the 4th of January. Who on earth is going to come? But turns out it was packed, and it was the best workshop because, you know, people had time off. They were like, okay, this is one of the things that I can, do. This is something I can do really quickly and that kind of stuff. So even though it is early, we thought that it is kind of early in the year. It also gets some of those jobs out of the way that you might be thinking you need to get done. So I guess one of the things the other thing to remember is that while we know that it's early in the year, for a lot of people, social media is one of those things that kind of knocks us for six a little bit. So hopefully what today will do is give you an opportunity to really get those, either get some stuff knocked off that to-do list, or alternatively give you a better idea of what to put on the to-do list. So before I start really into the guts of the workshop, I do want to acknowledge country. And I'm here today on Turrbal and Yagara country here in Meanjin or Brisbane. And I also want to acknowledge the traditional owners of all of this area, as well as Queensland and Australia, and acknowledge the unceded sovereignty of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples everywhere. If you'd like to, we're not going to have time because it's only an hour, but if you'd like to put your acknowledgement into the chat window, that'd be really cool, so we can see where everybody is from as well. That would be lovely. So just a few housekeeping items. So I'm just going to click through onto our, the next thing I need to say, so can everybody see everybody can see my window. The next thing I have to say, of course, is I want to acknowledge TAFE Queensland, Advance Queensland, and the Queensland Government for the opportunity to be here today. Without them, we wouldn't be here. We would be doing lots and lots of other things, but want to thank the TAFE Queensland crew for being amazing and supportive and bringing this program to life. Housekeeping. So the first thing to say is smile, you're on camera. We're social media queens. If that's an issue, please don't hesitate. You can turn it off. It's all good. But we'll take screenshots. I'll make sure I say, hey, everybody smile if you want to be on the photo, and we'll post on social media, that kind of thing. But also this session is being recorded. It will be available on the website when we finish building it for other participants to watch and to view and to learn about how to do social media. That'll be consistent with all of the other ones. So just wanted to make sure that that's okay with everybody. Today's session will be about 60 minutes long. That's what I scheduled it for. If we go a little bit longer, and I guess Claudine is our presenter, so if we go a little bit longer, we can keep the camera rolling and recording. But if you need to leave, go. I know that it's it's a weekday. I know that you've got kids to get to bed and all that kind of stuff. So if we keep going, we will keep the camera going, and you can watch the recording later. The other thing is that the chat window is there. If you want to use the chat window. If you want to use the chat window, nobody's going to do thank you, Brendan. Brendan is there from Yuwabara country. So Mackay. Hello, Brendan. There he is.
Hey,
well
evening
done.
all.
Thanks,
how are you?
Thank you for that. So use the chat window to share links. I can download the chat window later on. One of the things to remember, I think it's still the case that private messages are actually visible to me as the recording person, as the host. I don't know if that's still the case. Zoom may have changed that, but certainly at the beginning of COVID, that was something people didn't realise. But if you But one of the things that we typically do at our workshops is we usually send up a follow-up email. And in that follow-up email, we will say, hey, this is some of the things that we talked about. And if there are any additional links and resources that we might have mentioned in the workshop, we will send that as well. So if there's anything I'm going to monitor the workshop window as well. And so I can send out links in a summary email at the end. I'd encourage you, if it's possible and if it's okay with you, to leave your camera on. While this is a Zoom and isn't one of our typical face-to-faces, it is still face-to-face. I can see you, you can see me. And there's something about, we have done workshops where everyone's black. Oh, like, you're all black anyway. But when everyone's screens are black and when everyone's screens are black, and it's kind of really hard to kind of go, oh yeah, and then we do this when you get nothing back from people. So I absolutely recognise that the internet is playing up. Emma's turned her screen off, her camera off, because she's got a storm going overhead. So I recognise that, that's fine. But if you can, as a general rule, leave it on, because that way we feel like we're all in a room together. I think that's about it. So basically, these sessions are designed, One Business is a workshop program that will be travelling across Queensland to a number of different regions in Queensland. But this program, the Zoom program, is kind of supplementary to that. We're still working out the regions that One Business will actually be coming to. But the Zoom program is something that's going to run across throughout the whole year at different times, and we'll be, we're basically, it's designed to provide an opportunity for people to get together, for us to explore different topics. If you have a topic that you would like us to explore, please let us know, and we will certainly try and find an expert for you to address that issue. So we've got a few different topics lined up. We're really looking forward to presenting them across the 2001. Okay, so let's get into it. So our first session today, or our first Zoom session, our guest is the very deadly Claudine Thornton. So Claudine is from Claudine Thornton Creative, and she's a commercial and editorial photographer turned visual media strategist. She creates visual communications and campaigns, and I love this. Sorry, I really love this one, that grow causes and cash flows. I really like that. Based on the Sunshine Coast, Claudine has worked with a number of Indigenous businesses, including us, in our region, as well as on a number of major social media campaigns with government organisations. So as a sole trader, Claudine understands the challenges of getting your socials out while you're also doing your finances, while you're also trying to serve customers and clean the office at the same time. So hands up all our sole traders out there. You're all our solies. Where are you? Power, more power to you. Well done. So welcome, Claudine. How are you?
Hey, Lisa. Thanks for having me.
That's all right. Thank you for being the first one. We get to be super nervous together.
Oh, man, it's so awkward. But, I pretty much just want to kind of be as helpful as I can to anyone. Talk about my struggles, talk about your struggles, if I can help in any way, and really just make this kind of practical. I am like a social media convert. Like, I was always getting referrals prior to this. I never really thought, and you probably won't hear this from many social media managers, I never really valued social media before I actually took the time to actually understand how it could actually work for my business. And it's just another tool, guys. I don't place all my emphasis on my business going, social media is everything. No, I think it's one tool that you guys can use in nearly a lot of bags that we have to sell our services, sell our products, and do what we need to do to actually make money and live the best life that we want to actually live. So yeah, so today's pretty much going to come from, I'm a very honest person, aren't I, Lisa? Probably too honest sometimes.
well, you're very honest, and you're working with a pair of oversharers, Emma and I, who just share. Oh my God, I can't do this.
Well, I'm an oversharer too. So, we're a good pair. But yeah, I think, sometimes social media is touted as being anything and everything that you need to do to actually for business. And I really just want to kind of say to everyone tonight is about just really, if there's one little thing that's like bugging you or stopping you from starting, or that is like something that you're really cannot deal with, let's chat about it, because I think we've all been there. And we probably all have different solutions. And once we start talking about it, I think that's when the magic happens. Like, we'll be able to actually, like, together create a system that actually works for you, not the other way around. Like, I hate being a slave to social media. I'm all about making social media a lot easier, simpler, and not something that's actually going to drive you insane.
Absolutely. Now, we actually already have one question. I don't know if you wanted to go through a few things. I can turn my screen off, Claude, but we do have one question from Emma so far. So
okay, cool.
Yeah. So Emma's question, you want me to read it out? I'll just read it out.
Yeah, read it out.
Okay. So Emma's question is about the. I'll just turn off my screen so we can see everybody fully. So I'll just stop sharing. Stop share. There we go. To see you all. So Emma's question is about the challenge of when you're speaking as yourself and when you are your business and then deciding what's the voice of your business. She struggles with this mostly on LinkedIn and Twitter, but sometimes on Facebook too. I know it's a challenge for everyone, but feels a bit more crazy when it's just you that's the business tool, trying to sound not too much like an egomaniac or a wanker. Who else has that? Oh, today at Iscariot Media, the team did this. It's like, yeah, Lisa did it.
Look, we all put on hats, I think, when it comes to business, or what we think everyone needs to hear. And that can be one of the most difficult things, I think. Your tone of voice and how you actually communicate your services can feel really unnatural. I mean, just take job interviews, for instance. Like, we don't like talking ourselves up. Especially, I guess, our mob, it's harder to talk ourselves up. But I think, it's something that you have to do in business. You do have to talk yourself up a little bit. And, some people make a very good living out of being egotistical and being a bit of a wanker, because they want to turn people away. So it's really what you want to do. Like, you want to attract people into your community that you want to be in there. So I think just think about what their needs are is the easiest way to think about it. Not think about yourself so much, just think about what questions they have that they want to be answered, and also their needs. Like, how can you help them? I think that's the simplest way to think about it.
I think one of the best things that I ever learned, my partner's a visual artist, and one of the things he said to me, and I don't do it, I don't practice it all the time, but when I'm feeling really insecure, he said to me once, he said, look, you make the artwork, but then your job after making the art, and it's on the gallery wall, and then he said, but your job after that is to serve the work. And so it's not about you, it's about the work. And so I kind of relate that in terms of my business about, okay, feeling really insecure and like a wanker. Okay, how are you serving the work now? Like, how are you serving the business? This is not about you, Lise. And I guess, Emma would probably say this, like, a company is literally another legal entity. And as a director, I have to serve the entity. So sometimes I do that in my brain to help me kind of talk myself out of feeling weird about what I'm saying, if that makes sense. Yeah.
I think there's a tendency, like now, particularly like with this kind of like that purpose-driven marketing, where you're tied in, your identity as an individual is tied into your company or your brand, and people really want to understand what it is that you stand for, and they want your opinions, and they want you to actually be quite transparent in between your personal. So this is a really difficult situation in a lot of companies where taking a stand on something kind of political or personal can be quite difficult to communicate between personal and company. But I think a lot of people want to follow companies. They want to be part of a community, basically. It's not you, it's not your company. They just want to be a part of a community and feel like they belong there. So I think that could be a good way to actually look at it instead, is like, it's not about you're not going to be everyone's fan. You're not gonna make everyone happy. And so sometimes we just have to accept that on social media. But I think the worst thing is not actually saying something, because the customers will always make up their own story about you. That's probably the worst thing, is they'll make up their own story about you regardless if you post or not. So I think sometimes just posting is actually telling your side of the story and telling it how you like to see your company or yourself go.
I think that's right. One of the there was a business I remember went out of business a while ago, and everyone was talking about it. And I'm like, dude, just tell people the story. Because if you don't tell people, they'll make it up themselves. And everybody was gossiping and gossip. It's a small community. And everybody was just making it up based on the little snippets of facts they may have had. But yeah, they'll make it up if you don't tell them.
Yeah, it's the one thing that social media can actually do for you. Like, if you think about it in that way, is that you can control your narrative, you can control what it is that you say in some ways, shape or form, and you can really have an opinion the way that you want to have an opinion too. So it is an opportunity to tell your story the way that you want to tell it.
So I guess just to sum up this first bit, for the first bit for me, what I'm hearing you say is, don't be afraid to tell your story, and don't be afraid and allow social media, or give social media I don't know if it's give social media, or let social media be the tool for you to tell the story of yourself and your business.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of pre-planning. Like, I don't know, some people are gifted and they can just, they can just post really easily and not worry what other people think. And I think that comes down to depending on who you work with. Like, if you work with government, you feel a little bit censored, maybe more so than, say, somebody who's a fashion brand that can be really kind of outward, or an artist that can be quite polarizing in their opinions, you know what I mean? So you don't want to, there's a fine line between doing what you love doing and then also make money. We have to make money, right? As a business, that's what we're working towards. So I think, some people get caught up in that, I need to just be safe in order to make money. But there's a lot of research out there, guys, that actually just shows that if you just be yourself, if you be polarizing, if you niche down and talk to a specific crowd that you want to talk to and attract in your business, that works way better than being safe.
Yeah, the one thing that I'd say there, I remember back in the old Twitter, not new Twitter, old Twitter, we did educational resources, and I was not very safe. I was out there, and what was really amazing was I don't know, but not out there. I don't swear or anything, but I was out there in terms of my politics, and the job is about critical race and all that kind of stuff. And the amount of followers and stuff that we would get simply because, not necessarily sales, I wasn't terribly great at sales, but just that's for me that example of, don't be afraid to you don't have to sit on the fence. You don't have to be neutral in everything. Like, be really clear about because I'm thinking the second message there is plan and prepare, but also you don't have to sit on the fence. You don't have to be super neutral. Like, take a position, take a stand.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that works for a lot of brands. I mean, if we look at Black Lives Matter in America this year, then what happened with how they actually handled on their boards, how many, people of color were on their boards, how many people in their employment or the diversity in their employment were all asked of, like, because of that movement. And we saw that was just if there was no diversity. So, you know, like how can they actually be a voice for the people? And I think as an individual and solopreneur, we can actually be that voice too.
So Matrice has just asked a question here. How do you know how much social media is enough, especially if you're working by yourself? I want to spend as little time on social media and more time working.
Yeah, such a good question. Really good. Yeah, this is a tricky one, and it does come down to testing. But I feel like, just my personal opinion, I post 3 times a week. That's my regular. And I mean, as a given, okay, the algorithm just doesn't serve you up to everyone in your fan base. So you're only really reaching 2%, which is not a lot, unless you're doing paid advertising to your people that follow you, right? So if you've got, you know, 200 followers, 2% of that is 2 people, okay? Like it's not a lot of people that you're directly actually being delivered up to, if that makes sense. But those 2 people could actually be paying clients. So I wouldn't get disappointed in that as well. There is opportunity in that small percentage. But the things that you can do is, can you just repeat the question again? I lost my train of thought there with my rant.
No, you're right. So the question is how do you know how much social media is enough, especially if you're working by yourself? I want to spend as little time on social media and more time working.
It's more about quality for me, in my personal opinion, than quantity. If you can get someone, it's like when you walk into a shop, okay, like even just bricks and mortar, it's the same for social. They want an experience with you. They want to try and understand you. They want to get to know you. If you're just posting, like, look, we all do it, and I do it too. If you post a quote, this is my bugbear. Sorry, Tiara, you probably know this very well. If you just post a quote, yes, it's shareable and it gives you a little bit of an insight to you, but you're not saying anything about you to get known, liked, and trusted by your audience. You're not telling people who you are as a person. You're using other people's opinions for that, and you're not creating content. So I would say, even if you posted once or twice a week, as long as it's actually really valuable and it really helps your community, it doesn't matter the amount of times that you post. It matters the quality of the content and what you're doing to give value. And when I say value, that's and I'm learning this myself, like I need to understand what my audience actually wants from me as a photographer turned social media. Is it that they want me to teach them how to do DIY photography at home so that they can sell their products and services? Is it so I ask these questions. What is my audience actually wanting from me? And I post things out to test it. So that initial testing period is great to actually start a strategy so that you're really giving value to your clients. And for me, lots of people want to see the behind the scenes. They want to see more of the setups that I do in order to actually create the content. And sometimes they want to know if I use like iPhones versus my actual my own kit. So, you know, I'm looking at doing more DIY iPhone type tutorials as well as what I do with my commercial kit, just so that everybody has actually got some insight to how they can use their own kit to be their own photographer. And then, you know, hopefully that will catapult them into, you know, getting a professional in.
I can see a few frowns there. So what I'm doing, Claude, is I'm actually typing my summary of what you're saying.
Oh, cool.
So I can see people going, oh, what was that? What you said. This is just so I don't have to do it later. I just copy and paste it. I'm making it myself efficient.
I like it. That's awesome. Yeah, so there is like a small percentage, guys, like, and it's really hard to actually do organic, like we call it organic social media versus paid social media. It's a business too. Like Facebook and Instagram are a business too, and they're all about monetizing their services. So I think, you know, typically they're going to prioritize people who are paying clients over non-paying clients. So that's where it comes down to. But if your community is around your cause or your business and they love what you do, they're going to come back and actually visit you anyway. So there's ways and means to still, get business through organic social media. Does that make sense?
I used to be in the world. Does that answer your question, Matrice? I used to be in the world where I never wanted to, back in, I guess from the old days, I didn't want to post too much because I used to see people who were posting too much. So I would limit my posts because I was afraid I was posting too much. But of course, the world has changed in the last 12 years. Apparently, I've been on Twitter for 12 years. So in the last decade, it's changed a lot. So I don't have to worry about that so much anymore.
Yeah. And I think, Matrice, like you do quite artistic stuff, right? Like you make things, yeah? Do you invite people into the studio to see how you make them?
I haven't really yet because I just set my studio up. So I haven't got my camera on because my internet's playing up. So
yeah.
But, but that will be something, I suppose. I was watching an Instagram thing about pottery and Instagram, how to sell your pottery via Instagram and what you should do and stuff today, actually. And so I suppose showing people the process is something that I will do, and it's just, I suppose, trying to find my style because I haven't really got that yet in terms of my Instagram and my Facebook, and just working out because there's so many different sort of things you can do, and it's hard to pin down what I think is me. I suppose I don't know how to do that, how to sort of work out my look.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that can be a tough one. The look and feel of something is something that evolves over time. I've gone through so many different iterations of my website. I can't even, and even my Instagram account, like I've gone from really light to really dark, like I think it changes and it evolves. So don't get too stuck on it though. I think people like to see how you work, and when you invite them in, something magical kind of happens in the behind the scenes type stuff where you're not just on the screen. It's a different feel, I think, when you go into behind the scenes. I don't know if everyone else feels the same. Does everyone else love behind the scenes stuff? Show of hands, who loves behind the scenes type stuff on Instagram, like shops and fashion, and it's kind of big. So I would suggest that anyone puts behind the scenes as part of their strategy at least once a week, or even just once a month, depending on how many times you want to do it.
Though I have to say, Claude, honestly, my behind the scenes right now, it's all right when you're doing lovely pottery and you're a beautiful fashionista. My desk is a complete mess.
I think people love the
Felicity's got beautiful fibre and all these kinds of pretty things. This is Felicity's, by the way. They've got pretty things. Well, not very pretty. All right, we have another question. So from Emma, does it make any difference if you're a product-based versus service-based business?
In the way that you're wanting to sell or make a brand, I guess I categorize that. So it sounds a bit weird, but I think there is a difference, especially if you're wanting to sell your products, which for service-based businesses are services. It's very different. But I think, is it in terms of selling like cash flow wise, or is it just aesthetically?
Emma, can you? Oh, there she is.
Sorry, Claude. It was when you were talking about letting people in and showing behind the scenes. I was saying what Lisa was saying. Some people are fortunate enough to have great behind the scenes stuff, and some of us aren't as sexy. There's only so many flat lays of paperwork I can do. Oh, here's me writing this. Here's me writing that. So it's just, I suppose, I've tried a couple of different things, and I just feel like sometimes with, I don't know, other people with services-based stuff, I feel like I run out of Like I've got other stuff I talk about, but with some of that stuff, I just feel like I run out a little bit. Of
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
say.
I think with particular platforms too, though, Emma, to like we have this pressure to look the goods.
Yeah.
But I think that's kind of being smashed this year. I don't know about you guys. I'm happy to hear this. Yes, things are pretty, and we all it's proven that we love pretty things as humans in general. But I think there is a big push for authenticity, and I know that gets bantered about quite a bit, that word authenticity. But I think in terms of trying to show it, this year for me particularly, I'm a visual person, but I'm actually going to move away from being aesthetically pleasing all the time, because if you look at body positivity, all that stuff, we have been brainwashed for a long time with marketing. It's time for a change. And I think as content creators, if you want to actually do that, more power to you. And I actually really applaud people who are just, I don't think it has to be pretty. I think you can just show how hard you guys work, the real business. It takes time. Like if you look at, I'll just show you my little setup right now. I'm using this opportunity to create more content. It's not pretty, guys. I'm going to turn you around. I've got an iPhone on an ugly stand. My lights are there, but I'm actually going to do a video and show how I've just sat here and talked to you guys, because that's the real business. I've sat here and I've talked to you guys. It doesn't have to be the perfect, zhuzhed bookshelf that I have behind me. I think people will be interested that I've taken the time to put myself out there and show up. And if I can inspire other people in that way, especially with our mob, don't let that stop you from actually doing it. Sorry, that was a bit of a went to that. But yeah, we need more of it. We need to actually tell people that we are a mob to be proud of and that we're doing great things. So just show it. Why not?
Karina's asked, I know each platform requires different ways of delivering the message, which can be time consuming. How much do you post the same message on multiple platforms without taking up too much time?
Yeah, this is a big one, and each platform is different. Like you say, you will have different people on platforms. I think it's deciding which platform is going to work for you too, and how much time you actually want to put yourself into these particular platforms. I personally, in doing my social media management, we kind of do a flat rate where we just post the same thing to all the different platforms at the same time. That's just how it is in a lot of the packages. But there are people who are wanting you to optimize the content to be delivered on each platform at the times that is the best for the customers on each platform. So Facebook you might be more interesting to people at 7 a.m. on Facebook versus 7 p.m. on Instagram. So we need to actually use the data that those particular platforms have inside in the back end and create the content to that, and actually talk to the clients about how they want to actually split up their platform if that's what they want to do, and optimize their content for when people are on the platform. But I think, is that a little bit, that's a lot. That's kind of laid in the social media, but I would just stick to, if you're starting out, I would just stick to the one platform, find out what people are actually wanting. It's not so much what you post and how, it's what people want to hear from you. So if you're telling them something that they want to hear on Instagram and on Facebook, if you post at different times, they're still going to go and follow you and come back to you because they want to hear from you. So it's the kind of content, I would say. It's not so much how much you post and on what platform. It's quality again over quantity.
Now, Felicity's got a question here. I don't know if it's a question or a comment. I'll take that as a comment, Felicity. But she actually likes Instagram better than Facebook.
I do too.
Because of the visual stuff.
Yeah.
And that's okay. You don't necessarily have to be on every platform.
Yeah. It's being discoverable. Like, I think that's the reason why we all want to be on all the different platforms, is that we want to have a presence and we want to be visible as wide as we want to cast our net as wide as we possibly can, so that, you know, we can be found on all the different platforms.
Yep.
So, you know, look, my Facebook is a little bit of a ghost town, to be honest. But if people want to find me, I'm still searchable. Okay, so I use it for that. I'm searchable on Facebook. I love Instagram. I love the community there. I talk better with people on Instagram. It's just a different vibe for me. So Instagram is my jam. LinkedIn is close second. LinkedIn is getting way more community orientated, but again, it's searchable. So, I mean, I would suggest that you're searchable, be on the platforms to be searchable, but again, just choose the platforms that you like better and don't worry too much about the others.
It's funny because I was going to say that to you today, Claude, because I tweeted you. You're not on Twitter, and then I looked for hashtag Claudine Thornton, and there's all these tweets about Claude, and you're not on Twitter. So they're now discoverable and taggable.
Yes, yes. Searchable. That's what.
Searchable. Yeah. One question here is: are there different strategies for non-Indigenous audiences as opposed to Indigenous audiences?
Ooh, love this question. This is awesome. Interesting. I've worked with both. So I would say yes. Definitely. And depends what country you're from too. That can make a big difference. But I would say yes, there's kind of working with non-Indigenous clients, they have had a lot longer on social media. They're a lot more comfortable with our mob. We've experienced a lot of trauma. We get a lot of racism still. So I think there's a tendency to not show up as much as what non-Indigenous, and I'm, you know, that's my own opinion. I don't know what everyone else thinks. And I think that opening yourselves up to more trauma is something that holds us back a little bit. So yeah, it is different. And I think we need a plan around dealing with some of the racist pigs that we have, to be honest, online, before we go into it, especially if we want to be, if we're not the type of person that's really confident. I think it would be great to talk to others that are really confident in their identity, in their stance on a lot of things, to people that may not be, you know, who may feel quite attacked and sensitive to that particular. I think there's some people that don't show up and they let that hold them back. So yes, and that's simply a systemic thing, where non-Indigenous people don't have that barrier.
Good question. Thank you for that one. And I think probably one of the other things I would say is, if you're a business, an Indigenous business, I think that there is more of an imperative to be nameable and to be locatable and relatable to. Like, I don't know what that word is, but if I know when I'm online and I find someone and they're supposed to be an Indigenous business, they said they are, but their about is completely, I don't know who you are, I don't know who you like. I think Indigenous audiences can be a lot more discerned. Some of those protocols that exist in real life come into play in business and in social media. So if people can't relate you to somewhere, then they'll be, well, I don't know who this person is. It could be just a fake. So I suspect that I get a sense that there's a bit of that. Those protocols that exist in real life exist online as well.
Definitely. I still have a little bit of a hard. I mean, I know when I first found out in my story, like, you know, my nan's a stolen generation, I think there's a bit of a process to go through, and you don't always learn that unless you're in the community. So I still feel quite protective over people, even though, you know, like in that way, because I've been through it myself, where you just don't know how to actually, you don't know the protocols maybe to full, or even just what to say, or even the lingo. So, I mean, I think there's that component as well, is that people just want to start a business. They may not be in a position where they have lots of family around them to actually support them, and this is their way of just trying to get into it. But then there's the other type, which is just taking advantage of cultural appropriation. So I think, you've got to kind of try and understand which one is which. But I still have a bit of a heart for people who are trying to find their way.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We've got one more question here. What is the importance of using hashtags on Insta? I use a couple in the comments, but I don't like seeing the hashtags in the post.
Yes. This is like the age-old debate. I think, was this from Felicity? Yeah.
Yes.
This was an awesome question that you posted on Facebook earlier today. And there's two schools. Some people like it in the first comment, some people like it in the post. It's kind of an aesthetic thing. But again, the hashtags are a way for you to be discoverable, to be searchable. If you have your own, I would highly recommend you have your own hashtag, so that people can find you, also in relative kind of areas, so that people can find you in that area. So I think, Felicity, you're in weaving, so, you know, you would probably have hashtag weaving, or like traditional weaving, or all those different sets, so that you're discoverable if somebody is looking particularly for weaving. I would definitely use it either. It doesn't make any difference. But I think your question was about the third-party scheduling software, wasn't it? That you wanted to customize that, because yes, sometimes Facebook and Instagram, the third-party scheduling software that you use, you have to push out the post at the same time, and whatever gets pushed out to Facebook gets pushed to Instagram. Is that what you mean? And you want to take the hashtags off Facebook, and you only want to have the hashtags go to Instagram. Is that what you were asking? Yeah. So it depends on what your third-party scheduler is. Can I ask you which one you're using at the moment? Is that okay?
I haven't yet, but I just thought I'd start researching and see what would be suitable, because I'm trying to minimise time on computer this year.
Yeah, the one I would recommend for you is Later. So Later. You can get a free client account up to 3 profiles. So that could be your LinkedIn, your Instagram, and your Facebook. And it actually allows you to customize each of those posts. So you can copy paste, and then take off the hashtags for each of those and adjust it as you need to. So that's probably the one that I would suggest for you. There are others out there, and there's a lot that don't let you do that. So yeah, let me know if you have any troubles. Just like DM me.
And you can also do scheduling within Facebook now as well. So you can use Creator Studio Business Suite, so you don't actually have to pay anything as well. So
yeah,
then
and
you can natively do stuff you didn't do before.
Just duplicate it in Creator Suite and then change it. So, you know, you can like tick on, this is Facebook. So you would just duplicate the same post. That's a way to not use a third party. But have a play around with Later. I think you would like that, because everything sits there a little bit nicer than Creator Studio for me. Sorry, I know you're a Facebook girl, Lisa. But I would play with each of those and just see which one works for you. It's a drag and drop kind of situation with Later. Whereas, if you post natively, there's some advantages to that too. So there are pros and cons with each.
That's cool. I did tried to look at Creator Studio, even just trying to load it within Facebook, and it just made my head hurt. So I just went, nah.
Yeah. Later is something that doesn't, it's probably the least one that I have most resistance with clients wanting to contribute to their content. And it's just easy with a drag and drop function. So you can put all your images in, you can load them all up, they're all there visible, and you just pull them across and whap it on. So that is a big advantage, I think, for most people, and it's free. So
Thank you.
Now we've got about 10 minutes to go. Well,
God, that makes sense.
I
I don't know what I'm going to talk about for an hour.
yeah, I was going to ask you, because we've talked about who you want to be online. We've talked about kind of frequency of posting. We've talked a bit about, behind the scenes. Don't get too hung up on being perfect and finding that perfect look and feel. Be a bit raw. How do you organize? Okay, I am the queen of disorganized filing. I've just got my daughter to take a photo of me, actually, which I'm going to post. She's standing in the corner as we were doing this, so I'm inspired by you. But I'm going to lose the image. I am terrible with organizing my images. What do I do? Yeah. And that's kind of, I feel like that's, if there's something that I can do in this kind of still a little bit slow period, organizing my images is something that I could probably work on.
It's definitely something that I think will save you time, save you money. One of the biggest things as a photographer, I'm just going to be quite upfront, is that we know that nearly 80% of the photographs will not be used. Or they get lost because nobody knows where they filed them. So it's repeat business for us, guys. So if you actually file your images, it actually makes sense to actually save a bit of money, and those images can last.
Are you saying that photographers like it when we file badly because we can come back?
Definitely.
That's
We've got all sorts of unarchiving fees and everything like that. If you come back to us a year later and say, we need photographs, and you're like, yeah, there's an unarchiving fee for that, because we have to store them. But, I think if you strike the right photographer, I actually help my clients quite a bit in this area, where I will rename the files for them. So if it's a personal branding session, and especially when I'm working on retainer, every quarter, we work on a specific type of range of images or set of images for your content library. And so I will rename those for you. So in the search function, everyone's got the search function in there. Instead of it just being IMG, like what your phone actually records, IMG 5987, it doesn't actually, you can't find what you're looking for if you don't know where you put it, right? But if you create a centralized library somewhere, whether that's iCloud, where you actually just go, all of my branding photos, just chuck them all in the one centralized place, you can actually save yourself a lot of time just getting photographs. Like, I know people that have spent hours just looking for that one photograph for the post that they're wanting to do, and it just makes their posting life hell.
I have 12,000 photos on my phone.
Yes, nobody does this because it sucks. Like, it really sucks. I'm going to be honest.
What do I do? Oh, it's because I think, because one day I'm going to have to get a new phone.
Yeah.
12,000. What do I do with this? Where do I put it?
Get one folder. Create one folder that's a shared folder or a G drive. I highly recommend G drive because that actually backs it up. So if you're actually syncing it to your G drive, you can actually move it off your phone so that if you drop your phone, if you wreck your phone, you still have your photos, right? You don't have to invest again in this time or energy or even just professional photos. Get a G drive going where you can actually just have a central library of all your images. You can just chuck them in. And I mean, I can do a little bit of I can share my screen and just show you how I do it just quickly if you like.
That'd be great.
Yeah. I have cleaned up my, you'll need to give me access to that one. But yeah, I think this is a necessary evil. Like, nobody likes this. I don't like this process, and I'm a photographer. Nobody likes renaming their files, but seriously, if it saves you half an hour searching high and low for images,
half an hour searching times
3 times a week. Yeah. Can you imagine how much that adds up? It's a lot in your business, and you just don't have that time, honestly. And if you just spent a day, just one day actually doing this, now that we've got downtime, just get it over and done with. And then that kind of builds this habit of putting the image into a central place. And
Do you
all you
think
have
Google
to
Photos is okay, or would you go with just Google Drive?
iCloud's fine too. Like I've got iCloud because then you can share it with your social media manager too.
Yep.
Same, like it's shareable. You can have your, like for instance.
So you have sharing options now if you want to show us your setup.
Oh, thanks. Where's my desktop? Yeah, I mean, me and my husband share a lot of fishing photos because he has a fishing Instagram account. And so in order to actually like for him to post, I need to just move my photos that I take into his shared iCloud folder. So yeah, can you all see that?
Yep.
Okay, so this, I have to say it's not a nice process, but I did it. So this is where I put I just spent a day. I went through my iPhone, I went through my professional photos, my paid photos, ones that I've done myself, and I just plopped them all into one folder. I created this folder, CTC content exports. So I just plopped them all in there, and then it went, I'll sort them out later. So I just, every photo that I liked and that I was happy to put on Instagram or Facebook or my website, I just put them all in the one photo and then one folder. And then the next day I went, okay, I'm going to spend a day sorting them into each of their kind of content buckets. So for my Instagram, I have certain things that I will share, and there's certain things that strategy-wise I need to share in order for me to answer my customers' their client concerns or questions that they might have. So just for instance, one of those might be, what's it like to work with me? Is a big thing. And I think everyone will have this, like, what is it like to work with you guys? How do you show that? It's when you start thinking about this, how do you want to show that? Especially in the service industry, I think this goes back to that question about product versus service. Products are like features and features of the product. Like if you're buying a cream for beauty, like it's something that reduces wrinkles. It's, you have certain images for that. It's the product itself. It maybe be somebody putting it on their skin. But for services, people want to know that they're going to have a good time with you, that you're not horrible, that you're trustworthy, this is where a whole different gamut of things come into your visuals. And if you start thinking about how do I show that, it can be like a way to audit the type of images that you want to actually put in your library as well. So for me, Giggle Squint Nation is something that I have created to let people know that I'm quite fun to work with. I try and make my clients laugh a lot, and we have a good time in a session. So I have gone through all of my well, not all of them, because you can see there's only a few there, but I have gone through when they actually have a laugh, and it's not the type of photo that they want to put in there, but they're having a good time with me. So this is a way that I feel shows how people find me funny, or that they're having a great time in the session. It's not awkward. It's not, because this can be something that really makes people trust you better, is if you are having a great time. So these never get selected by the clients, but it's ones that I take in order to show how much fun they're having with me. And this is just a way that I can show that visually. So thinking about that and what you can do in your business, is a way that you can do that. And so I had that all in the one spot. So it's easy to actually, if I'm going to post about Giggle Squint Nation, I can access it really easily.
Because I was thinking of Jackie and Cecilia, like you had that event last year. You must have a lot of photos from that period. Do you have them all organised in a library?
For my, like, the event coverages?
So Jackie and Cecilia had an event last year at
okay.
at Kabara. She's just
My computer's freezing a little bit, Lisa, but look, we have got a lot of stuff and we probably don't use it in the way that we could on our Connecting the Dots Facebook page. So, yeah, I'm just sort of looking at all of Claudia's folders and thinking maybe there's something that we can do around, those sort of things. Because we've also got lots of educators that put photos and stuff on there as well. And I think that we could probably work with them a little bit better as well.
Because you took all those images at that event, like you've got a whole, which because I've I was following you, even just posting those throughout the year, reminding people of how deadly that was, or
that's a good
kid
idea.
burning or something like that. I think might be really useful.
That's a good idea. Yeah, because we took videos and stuff like that as well, and it's really hard to know what to do with some of that stuff. Like, it's really good stuff, but you think people see it once and do they want to see it again? But, I always like seeing memories come up on my Facebook page because, they always bring back good thoughts about some of those memories or photos that come up.
I wonder then if there's, I don't know if you're going to talk about swipe files, Claude, if we've got time to talk about that at all. Because creating some different captions for those images that you have, so you can just you can publish those and they be really, really effective posts.
Yeah. I think so this is kind of a strategy. A lot of people think that images are just like nice fluffy things to actually show, but I hope that when I start talking about like Giggle Squint Nation and things, you might be able to relate it to something of yours. Like Giggle Squint Nation is about me regularly, once a month. I put it in my content rotation to talk about how fun it is to work with me. And I know that's like talking yourself up and it sounds really odd to do that. But in terms of like people wanting to know what it's like to work with you, those are the questions that they have when they're making buying decisions. If they're actually thinking, there's 10,000 photographers to choose from. How am I going to tell them why is it that they should choose me over another photographer? And if I can relate to them, then that's going to work really well for me because they're the type of people that I want to attract. Like Giggle Squint Nation is such a silly label, but I'm naming it that because I want to attract people that have the same kind of like funky sense of humor as me. A little bit. So, think in terms of like buying decisions for yours. I would definitely put it in your rotation as a strategy to talk about, are you an event? Just so I've got a little bit of an understanding of your business. Are you an event?
Jackie and Cecilia do early childhood education, and they ran an event last year called Connecting the Dots. They have a collaboration called Connecting the Dots and did an event with early childhood educators here in Brisbane.
Oh, so good. So is that something that you want to run again, Jackie? Like you need funding for? Or get on board?
Well, it'd be lovely to have some funding, but we actually did it out of our own pockets last year. We didn't make a lot of money out of it, but we actually got a lot more followers, and our conference this year is going to be held up at the Torres Strait Islands on Cecilia's beautiful country. So we'll have face to face if we can, but if not, we'll do it virtually like we did last year. But we do lots of things, Claudia. We do a lot of online stuff now. Before it was face-to-face, and, we'd go into kindergartens or schools or those sort of places to just talk about Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island perspectives. But now it's more online. So we've just launched our masterclasses today. And so we're a little bit excited about that. It's taken a little while for us to get it all happening because we've got to navigate between Zoom and ticket buying, Eventbrite, like just finding the right place to actually be able to split the tickets and stuff like that was a nightmare. But hopefully it's all okay now. But you've just got to, I don't know, if it wasn't for Facebook, because I don't use Instagram,
Okay.
I'm a bit hopeless at that. I had to even call my daughter this morning to ask her how I copy and paste my Instagram handle this morning, and she said, "Oh, Mum."
Like we're at all different stages. It's fine, and you know, like once you get into the groove, you'll be right. Just doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I liked the idea of using LinkedIn and Twitter as well. I'd like to be able to start doing that. So I think one of the questions there was, how do you navigate between the platforms? Like I know that Instagram and Facebook link together. Do the others, like do Twitter and LinkedIn? Is there a way that you can?
Yeah, it's with that third-party scheduler. Creator Studio doesn't go beyond Facebook and Instagram, because Facebook and Instagram are owned by the same, well, Facebook owns Instagram now. So if you're doing Facebook and Instagram, you can use the Creator Studio within Facebook to do that. If you're wanting to go to LinkedIn, you can kind of like copy it in a way and just paste it, like once you've written it, and do it manually. But if you do a third-party scheduling software, later again is probably something else I would recommend for you if you're wanting to cover all of those, because it does do LinkedIn and it does it all at the same time. So if you wanted to push everything out to those three platforms, you can for free.
Okay.
And just try it. Like, you do need to kind of, I guess LinkedIn is really much more like colleague type based. It's more kind of academic, would you say, Lisa? It's more the academia type crowd and professional.
Oh, I think well, I'd be coming back to what's your audience. And if your early childhood educators aren't on LinkedIn, and I suspect they're on Instagram or Facebook, then I would be on LinkedIn, but I wouldn't necessarily put all my eggs over there. There may be departmental people, like Department of Education people on LinkedIn.
I was thinking managers.
Yeah. But
the people that make decisions.
They're on Insta probably more than anything else.
And just test it. Like look at your background insights. You know, have a look in there regularly. I think maybe we don't do enough of that, where we're like looking at the data. Like, the data is not everything, but it can give you a little bit of a sense of what's working and what's not working. For instance, you know, like I'm working with a brand at the moment, and we do these kind of graphic tiles with just text on them versus doing the product shots versus doing lifestyle shots. And the graphic tile shots are not performing well, even though we put, you know, great captions on them. But it's Instagram based, right? So it's a very visual medium. People are very aesthetically driven on Instagram. So, you know, we're going to cut that particular content out because it's just not doing well in the back end. The data is not telling us that people like that content.
Now, we've actually reached 8 o'clock.
Crazy.
Can I just ask you one question? I'm just typing up this last message about your content library. From there, you put you dump everything into the one folder.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah.
And then come back and then start organizing it into, did you call them content pillars?
Yeah. Definitely if you've got content pillars. I don't know. Yeah, that's a great word for it.
But can we talk just very quickly about what a content pillar is?
Content pillars are something that you are wanting to get across to your audience. So about not only about you, but you're wanting to answer for them. I think again about the times that they're wanting to buy from you, or the times that they're needing to think about you. So for instance, Christmas time for me, I didn't want to be posting every day. I wanted to schedule all my Christmas content. So I just chucked, you know, things in here that looked a bit Christmassy. I did so that kind of like a client shoot, and it looks, you know, kind of Christmassy. it was an event, so yeah, it's about feasting and stuff like that. So I just chucked things in there that I thought I might be able to just use as fillers. But I also do PB is something, it's called personal branding. It's all the images of you, personal branding of you. This is gold when it comes to personal branding. Lisa's like, these are the images of you that you are, okay to share with people, So, you have that there so that anytime you need to say or make a conversation about your content, personal branding can get you the attention because people are just a little bit nosy. They want to see you, and they are excited to actually see what you're talking about when you show a picture of yourself. People pay way more attention to personal branding images than they do most other content.
So do you recommend at least getting one professional photo shoot done?
Definitely. And there's ways you can do that quite cheaply.
Yep.
You can do mini sessions. So for instance, I think that one's taken by my husband.
Oh.
Yeah, creative. Yeah, that's taken by my husband. That's taken by my husband. That's taken by my husband. That's taken by... But, that's when I'm really upset. I'm going to use this when I'm really not feeling something. Do you know what I mean? And this should get some sort of attention because this is not the normal way that people actually do their personal branding.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to be a little bit confrontational with your images too, as well. So this is the same session. So this session here, you can see I've got 3 different images that I'm using, as well as this one here, same session, just processed differently. Just a little behind the scenes. This is another session that I've making a cake. There's me being crazy again. So don't be afraid to use your personal branding.
Can I just say, okay, so my house doesn't look like that. I'm thinking I'm going to hire an Airbnb and go and get my husband to take some photos. Would that be crazy?
No, I think that's fine. I think you can, it's
my house doesn't look like that.
Well, this was my house at the time. I loved this house. I loved it. But I don't have this house now. So, and this is my Christmas shot of my house now. So you can pre-plan all of these kind of portraits. And my husband took that shot. So, you can get a little bit creative as well and just show yourself, I didn't have to put makeup on for this shot. So there's things you can kind of bend a little bit. I am a photographer. You probably don't hear this from a lot, but you can bend it a little bit if you're just looking to get on and show up, in those beginning stages. You don't need a professional photographer to actually show up on social media. And that is so true because people just want to see you, they just want to see you and what you're about. So, but yeah, get your content pillars into folders. If I want to show the portraits, if I want to maybe sell a mini session, I need portraits to show on my Instagram. I need to show the type of, what people can expect if they have a portrait session with me, that kind of thing. So, I've got those there ready to go. And interiors, not something that I kind of advertise anymore. It's not part of so this will probably go. I love interiors. It's one of my favorites. I love food photography. It's one of my favorites too, but it's not something that I kind of do with my commercial clients at all. So I've kind of just put that as being, maybe one day I will get a cafe or a restaurant. But yeah, put emphasis on where you want to actually answer people's questions or at the moments that they need to buy. So create these folders around that. That makes sense.
And I guess the other so what I'm hearing also is you're working out what your clients want to hear, or your audience, or the audience that you want, or the audience you have and what they want to hear, but you also want to measure that against sales. So Felicity, are you selling? That's probably a question about Am I actually making the sales? That will also help you to define whether you're actually being successful or not as well, I suppose. That's one of your other indicators of success. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's difficult because there's brand, right, where you're building up the trust and the familiarity. Like that doesn't get you anything. It's like posting in the newspaper.
Yep.
It's unmeasurable, but someone out there is actually following you because of what you do. So just because you're not making sales, I don't think you can discount what you're doing. But I think there's opportunities to make sales through social media that you can really kind of push the boundaries on and just see if it takes you in. I think it comes down to how you actually get people to buy from you too. You have to take away, because everyone's lazy. Everyone is also just really used to just one click away buys. So if your feed is not shoppable, it's a disadvantage. So like, I guess for you, Felicity, I would really recommend that you start looking at the ways that you can make your feed shoppable to take away. Yeah, people are lazy and they just want to click and buy, and that's it. Yeah.
One day.
I think that's probably the first job, Felicity.
Yeah.
Excellent.
It's hard. It's a lot of work and it's time, yes, but I think it's well worth it. But brand can also get you sales, especially for service-based businesses. If you're attracting your type of people, though, to Felicity, to your workshops, that's kind of like sales. You know what I mean? If you get like booked out events, people know that it's happening, then you can kind of attribute some sort of brand work within your socials to that.
Yeah. How do you go media releases when you're sort of talking about, doing workshops, socials and things like that?
Well, we might talk about media in a little bit.
Yeah.
So hold that thought, Felicity. That's an excellent question. But I was thinking in some of those the portrait shots that you have of you, Claude, they're good to attach to a media release. That's what I was thinking when I saw them. Because a lot of people, when we're looking for content, when we want to send a media release, they don't have any artwork to go with it. They don't actually have any photos of themselves, and it can be very frustrating.
Yeah, even just personal branding for that is like gold. Like, yeah. And I would just have a folder on Dropbox.
Yep.
Ready to rock with your personal branding, so you can just link to it straight away, so that like media agencies don't have to worry about finding images for you or send somebody out.
Yeah. Yep.
Get you featured faster.
That's it. So who on this list is going to get, if you haven't already, on your to-do list, who has I'm going to go and get a photo shoot? Brendan is gonna few. Yep. Who's got on their list, I'm going to explore my hashtags? Cantisha's fine. Terry's good. Okay. All right. And I guess the only other thing I was thinking of is who's got a calendar, a social media calendar where they're posting, where they've got the 3 posts that they're doing this week already sorted out. Anybody got that?
Question.
Okay. So that's probably the one that
That's the part 2
talk
that
quickly about that one, Claude. I know we've run out of time. We're going to finish at 8:30. I've just decided. So a calendar. What's the best way to set up a calendar?
I can show you really quickly what I do for one client. But if you're going to post 3 times a week, just get an Excel spreadsheet, or even just go 1, 2, 3 and 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. And just start typing in an outline, 1, 2, 3, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, pick your days. And then the next week, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, whatever you want to allocate. But pick it 3 times a week just to give it a go and get consistent showing up. And then do outlines of the kind of things that you want to talk about with your content pillars in mind. So if you're looking for funding for events, if you're looking to sell out your workshops, talk about your workshops at least, once a month or once a fortnight, and just have a rotation, see if you can create an outline that really talks to your audience about maybe some of the questions that they have and that you want to actually, I think that's the 80-20 rule, where you can your 80% should be about your audience and 20% should be about you. So yeah, 80% think about your customers and how you can deliver real value to them, and 20% should be like, go and follow me on Pinterest, or go and find me over here, or you can get quite creative with the way that you promo yourself as well. But yeah.
Awesome. So that's a calendar for everybody.
Yeah, and just think like January, right? Like the opportunities seasonally, January is New Year's resolutions. You know, does that relate to your business? Can you do something there? We've got Invasion Day. Do you want to start a conversation around Invasion Day? Do you want to show your stance on Invasion Day to your clients? The other opportunities in January is to start think about like February. If you're a product-based business, are you selling something from February and you want to start advertising it in January? March is International Women's Day. So do you want to take a photo when you're getting that photo session done in January to show that you're pro-women and that you're wanting to really support and empower fellow women entrepreneurs, and grab a photo of that with your other portraits that you're getting done so that you're ready in March to really crank out some really valuable content.
Awesome.
I have an idea.
Awesome. Okay, I'm just going to share my screen quickly because share screen, there I am. So I just wanted to thank you so much, Claude. That was fantastic. I'm going to hold on 1 second. Your faces are all over everything. So the I guess the other thing to think about, so thanks very much for that session. We could probably just sit here and talk for another 3 hours. I have no doubt about it. And we may actually come back and talk to you in a couple of months, and we can see where I'm going to write down all of these action plans. And I know who has come to this workshop, my very technical attendance list here. And I'm going to see if you all have a calendar, if you have started your photo library, etc., etc. But the just to finish off, I just wanted to say that there will be a follow-up email with links and resources. I'll put the key messages from tonight's session as well as the link to later, and probably Google Photos. I'm going to send you a link to our feedback form, so please provide feedback if there's anything we can do better. If there are any particular topics that you would like us to touch on, we're really keen to make sure that we're delivering topics that are actually relevant and helpful. So please let us know what topics you would like us to touch on, and we will see what we can do. And then as you're all registered with One Business, you are also welcome to join our alumni group, which is www.facebook.com/group/Indigenous Business Queensland. I will also send the link to that as well. Our hashtags, of course, are hashtag One Business and hashtag Indigenous Business. So find us on Instagram, Felicity. You can follow as well. And then next week we have Annalise Cheney from Tourism and Events Queensland. Now this is very tourism specific. So if you are a business that might be, and Felicity, you might be in this space, Jackie and Cecilia, you could be touching on this space as well, but we're going to be looking at the best of Queensland experience. We're going to invite TEQ back later on in the year as well, when we're going to talk about reviews, which are really important for tourism businesses. So thank you all for coming. That's it. We've done it. Well done. Stop share. I'm going to ask you though, I know that we have a lot of people that don't have their cameras on, and I understand, but if you want to turn your camera on so I can do a selfie. Where are we? Matrice, Leanne, I don't know if you guys are there. Sonia, it's okay. Now, for those who don't do the whole putting your face on the screen, all good. You may like to have a look and see what Gavin's got there. So Gavin's got the Iscariot Media logo. You can actually put your logo on the screen if you don't want to have your face on the screen. So that's just something to think about for next time. It's always good to have these things set up.
How do you do that?
Oh, I think you go...
change your photo.
Change your photo in your profile when you log in.
Yeah.
photo. So if I turn my camera off, my head should appear.
Go to settings.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll have a look.
So there it comes. Sometimes it doesn't work. But you can also change your name. I can rename myself to something else, but I'm not going to do that. But I could do that if I wanted to. Where's Fiona? Fiona's disappeared. Oh, hi, Leanne. How are you? There's Fiona. Okay, we've got everybody. You're all looking very beautiful. You're all looking gorgeous. Now I'm going to say smile in a minute. Oh, and Claude's going to take that's very meta, Claude. All right. Okay. Everybody
Raw.
smile.
It was raw.
It was raw. There you go. You look gorgeous. You can all stop smiling now. Well done. I'm just finding the... I just do screenshots. Save as. Well done. Thanks, everybody. I guess while we're here, I might just do a quick shout out to some of our One Business trainers. So if you haven't met our One Business trainers before, formally, you can say there's Brendan and Kantisha and Tiari and Fiona and Claude. We have a couple of others, but they're not here. That's it. Thank you very much, everybody. Terry, I'm going to give you an email. I'll send you an email, hey? Awesome. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for coming. It was lovely to talk to you. And I hope to see some of you next week. And, yeah, talk to you soon. See ya.